Welcome to the Zentangle Project Pack series. This lesson is part of Project Pack 04. My name is Rick.
And I'm Maria. Project Pack 04 is designed around a specific project we are calling the Zentangle Spinner. We're using our annual 12 Days of Zentangle series to share 12 consecutive days of lessons with you to guide you along in filling the spinner with tangles.
Today is the second day in the series, but if you're watching these after the day we're posting them, you can easily do these lessons out of order.
Today we're going to guide you through filling one wedge of your spinner with some tangles.
So in this section, I have already started to tangle diva dance. And my approach to doing diva dance is that it's essentially an aura, but as I get to any one place, I just sort of randomly bump out. So like here I'm aura, 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 whoa, and just go out along the edge. And I'll aura. And after I've done a few little bits of aura and maybe going up, there I go again, I'll go back in and fill in those areas.
The bumpy ones.
The bumpy ones, and you'll see I keep the same distance as I was, and then whatever that balance is, I fill that in.
This is diva dance rock and roll, by the way.
Diva dance rock and roll because it's going around in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And to do a little bit of, to show a different type of diva dance, I did the regular introductory diva dance, which is in a straight line. And you can see where I'm like veering off the edge there and then going back in and filling that space in. So that's essentially how you do diva dance. If you go into our newsletter archives, you'll see the newsletter where we introduced it, and there's some pretty cool information about it. And
diva dance is a really great background for things. It has a sort of a textural thing going on. It's easy. You can lose yourself really easily in this tangle. I love diva dance and all the different versions of it. And this is kind of cool seeing both the rock and roll and the original diva dance together.
So that is diva dance in that first section. Now in this next section, I'm going to do a tangle called Hurry.
Do you know why it's called Hurry?
So we have a lot of fun with the names of our tangles.
This is an old one, yeah.
Yeah, and we try to make the names not suggest what it's supposed to look like.
But we have fun.
And we have fun at the same time. So Hurry is inspired by the caning pattern that you would see.
No, it's not caning, it's rush.
It's rush.
Rush.
So it's this, what is rush?
Rush is like, I think it's like wound cardboard or paper, and then they just weave that through.
So rush, hurry, get it? So it's the seat patterns that you'll see in
a rush chair.
In a chair that's woven with a rush seat. And essentially, this is a version of hollabaugh, just arranged in this cross and then a cross diagonal between that. Mm-hmm. So we've got 8 legs, as it were.
And it's sort of a formal hollabaugh in that first you do the first line, then the second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, and then you start repeating them in the same order.
Right. So now that we've got those initial 4 pieces of hollabaugh, the sequence is to aura the first one on both sides. So here we go. Aura, aura. And then we're going to rotate the tile, or in this case, rotate the spinner. Spin the spinner. And aura that one.
I actually had a whole bunch of these chairs hanging around at that point in time. I don't have them anymore, but that's probably where I got the pattern.
And then aura the other sections. And as you aura this, it has that, you start to notice the over-under weaving pattern, because we're going to do the same sequence of going from the top one to the bottom one. And there's that nice over-under that you'll see in some other tangles, for instance, like an aura knot. And you'll notice that I'm drawing my lines pretty much always in the same direction. I find that in that way the characteristic of the line is the same, because I'm using the same muscle groups to draw them.
It's true, because I was tangling the other day, and at the last minute I did my lines in another direction, and I could see the difference.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it wasn't like a big deal, like it was a mistake or anything, but I could see the difference.
So the key in this is just alternating which one in each direction. And that is the essence of rush. So even when it gets down to these last little bits, I turn my tile. Okay, so there we go with rush.
You didn't really rush through it.
I know. So this next one is, we're going to do a border tangle in this section here. And the tangle here is nace. Or
you know where that comes
knace.
from? You know
I
where that
don't,
comes from?
I don't
do.
remember.
I remember. We'll see as we go along here. It's going to look more and more like a pattern off the back of a snake. And if you take the letters of snake and
okay.
twist them around and put them in another order, it comes out to niece.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you'll notice here, even as I'm filling this section in, I fill in the outside first, and I'll often turn the tile so that the angle of my stroke matches is parallel with the part that I'm filling in. And I find that an easier way to fill in a section. So I'm going, instead of trying to stop at the right point, I'm going along the line, and then once I've got that defined, I can more easily fill it in. But it doesn't mean I hurry to fill it in. You still enjoy putting that
Well,
ink
you didn't
down.
hurry on the hurry either.
I didn't.
Yes. You actually don't hurry when you're
No.
tangling. Yeah.
So again, we've got this aura event going on. So I filled in one side, and on the other side, we'll do some aura-ing.
It's got nice drama in there. You know, it adds some deep color.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we will consider when we're doing tangles, particularly different tangles next to one another. Is some are predominantly just lines, like the hurry, and then the nace and the diva dance are what we call drama tangles, because they have this really nice presence of solid color.
So those lines you're doing now are a little wiggly, right?
They are a little wiggly. So I think our original nace was just straight lines, but...
No, I don't think so. I think that's right, yeah.
And tucked in a little diva dance.
It's kind of snakish. What do you think?
I think so.
I mean, of my knowledge of snakes, that looks like a snake.
Okay, so this next tangle is a really cool magic trick tangle, one of my favorites, and it is cadent. And cadent is a tangle whose elemental strokes are an orb which we're putting in right now, and we'll soon put in an S shape.
So he's putting down like a pegboard, like
Right.
grid, a grid of circles or orbs.
And then you'll see as I put down that S shape, I'm restating the line. So we call that takeoff and land. And it makes a very nice, smooth transition from one orb to the other. So this is sort of cool in itself. He's like,
You're not hurrying through this one either.
I just don't. So now we turn it 90 degrees and we put down that S shape in the other direction.
This is one of those magic tangles. I love the surprise.
And there's this lovely, like, swirling rectangle. And you can also do it in threes or other numbers of circles to connect them.
Is there a name to this shape besides Caden?
You know, when it's done in threes, it's very similar to the Celtic or Irish trescial. But this is I love this as an idea of tangling versus drawing, because when you look at this as a tangle, it's very easy to do as opposed to saying, oh, try drawing that. And just for some contrast, I'm putting in these little dots, but you'll see I left a little highlight there, just as a little bit of sparkle in them. Now this next tangle we're doing is called Ix, spelled I-X. And this was inspired by a piece of art that Maria and I saw when we went to the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art in New York City.
That's right. That's where it was,
And,
right?
and I think it was a three-dimensional sculpture, actually. And we took that inspiration to develop this tangle. And
So-
again, this is all going to be based on aura and halaba.
So he starts out with just a simple line and then puts these cool triangles at the end of each line, and then aura the whole thing. It's a pretty simple tangle, great for beginners, I think. But it has a really nice woven feel.
And I'm keeping, for the most part, you see when I'm putting down the aura, I keep the part that I'm auraing to the left of my pen. That way my pen isn't covering what I'm trying to follow the shape of.
That sounds like something kind of, well, yeah, really? But your hand does get in the way, and your auras aren't as clear or as maybe the way you want them to be because you can't see.
And by turning your tile or your spinner as you work, you're really emphasizing and reminding yourself that there is no up and down here, that you can change your perspective, you can move this, and you can see it at different angles. You're not locked into just one perspective.
So, I mean, we really don't have much room on the spinner to get into variations, but I encourage you to look up these different step outs, and we usually put in all kinds of variations and where you can go with it, as opposed to just the basic what you're seeing here. I strongly urge you to try going beyond once you've mastered the basic, because that's when you start to feel really creative, I think.
Yeah, and if you go on our website, which is zentangle.com, and go to the newsletter section, and there's a newsletter archive, and all of the newsletters that we've ever done are available on the website, and all of the tangles that we've introduced in the newsletters are there.
So you can see he's putting more and more auras around these lines, these barbell kind of things. And you just go back and forth with going through one and then turn it around, going through the other. You can either do a couple at a time, as I think that's
Yeah.
what you're doing right here.
And every time I meet an existing line, well, you draw behind it. So there's this neat interweaving that takes place with this. And you can make this as complex or not as you wish. So we've got our tangling done. And now let's put down some shades of gray. And my approach here is I'm going to float up that diva dance rock and roll over the background diva dance by putting some graphite around the edge of it.
Because with the red, you don't need too much.
And essentially anything that you add graphite to recedes into the distance, and anything that you leave untouched with it sort of floats up. So you have the impression that piece is floating up there. And I'm just adding you can see I'm adding a little graphite there to emphasize the over and under nature of that weaving. And then just pushing it into the fibers with a tortillon. So the paper we're using for these spinners is the same paper as we use for our tiles. And one of the reasons we got the paper that we did is that not only does it work really, really well with these pens and it doesn't bleed and it's just awesome, but also it has the type of tooth that really holds the graphite well, and you can really spread the graphite around with the tortillon.
Somebody just told me that tortillon is a French word from the word tortille, which means wound or twisted.
Twisted,
yeah. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool to know.
So you can see how by putting some graphite on the edge, it looks like those letters and the border are just going right up over that hurry.
Jumping right to the X.
That's right. So here I'm putting down graphite, and you can see I'm orienting the point of the pencil to the edge that I want the most precise. And then we'll go back in, soften that. And that sort of reinforces the over and under nature of it. Try shading this a little bit different every time. So as you put the shading in this way, it sort of almost looks like some crazy fanciful like clay roof tiles on some hobbit house. So thank you for hanging out with us for this section. We're going to move on, and we'll see you on day 3. And we look forward to seeing all of the work that you do, and perhaps we'll see it on the app. See you next time.
That's good. Bye.